Welcome back to Briggs on Books. I'm Mike Briggs, the host of the show, and we're talking today to authors from all over the world about their books, about their processes. How do they get a book finished, for goodness sakes, when most of us cannot? Our next guest has done it, and we've asked her to come in and talk about her book and her inspirations and how she got to where she is today. Welcome from just up the street in Sacramento, Gloria Galloway. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me on the show.
You had a little journey to get here onto the show. You look a little roughed up.
Yes, well, that's an interesting story. My writers group, the California Writers Club, was putting on an event in nearby Roseville, and we were setting up the booth. And I'd love to say that my legion of fans rushed the booth to get my book, but the truth is that I slipped on an uneven pavement and planted my face on the tarmac.
Yeah, it really,
and this is the result.
It barely shows, Gloria. But you're thinking, oh no, I got to be on TV tomorrow, and I'm all smashed up. But you look, you look great.
Now, pain, but I'm doing okay.
Now you have an interesting book. I'm going to put the cover up here. Amber's Way. Tell us about the book, how it came about. What's your inspiration?
Yes, that's a really interesting story as well. I was speaking with my over Christmas dinner with my son-in-law's father, Vince Giles. He and I both grew up in Sacramento. He grew up in an unincorporated section of the city. And one day a deer showed up, a baby deer, and literally adopted them. She would knock on the door with her hoof to be let in. She slept with the kids, and she'd race alongside them when they rode their bikes. Eventually she returned to the wild, Vince said, but yeah, it was a wonderful experience for the whole family.
That's amazing. And that's part of the book?
Yes, Amber actually has a deer that shows up to help her, and she names her Jane Doe.
Jane Doe. That is amazing. And now, did this book just come out?
It came out on February 20th.
February 20th of this year. Is this a COVID project?
A little bit, yeah, but it started a few years back. Yeah.
You had been forming it in your mind, and you had a little break, and you finally said, I have time to write it down?
Exactly, yes. It's a long process, but a very worthy one.
Yeah, as I say, so many of our viewers are aspiring authors who are just trying to get across the finish line, and it's great to see somebody who's actually done it. How did you find the process after you finished writing the book? Did you have a whole nother struggle to go through getting it out there?
Once it was, I actually had a book coach that helped me through the process, and I hired a broker of sorts. She kind of marketed to the publishers, and she approached the publisher on a Tuesday, and actually that Friday I was told that they wanted to contract it. So that was really amazing. So my advice is go for it. If you have a story, don't ever give up. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the book coach idea, because there are a lot of people out there that can help you through different steps in getting the book out there. And most of us are not born authors who know how to begin and have a middle and an end to a story. And sometimes it's quite the struggle. Now, and then you got a broker who helped you get it published. That's amazing, too. Now, you're in Sacramento, and you mentioned the Guild, Writers Guild.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Now, did you get involved with that before, during, or after you wrote the book?
The Authors Guild, actually, during the writing of it. It's a very wonderful resource. Many, many, many writers out there, all in the same writing process, or authors already. Some are just starting, and a really good resource for, finding out about publishing.
Yeah. How about the encouragement to finish the book? Were they helpful with that?
Absolutely. Everyone, all involved, have been totally encouraging.
Yeah. I'm going to encourage our reader or prospective authors. I talk to so many of them to look for a resource like that in their area. That's amazing that you had that.
Plus, they should check out their local, where, the writers groups in the city that they live in as well. They're a wonderful resource as well.
Where, Where can people buy this book?
It can be bought on Amazon, both Kindle and paperback versions, and of course Barnes & Noble, Target, online.
I always ask, Amazon's so easy for me just to press a button and the book shows up the next day with no shipping charges, but I don't like to be like I'm favoring any. But also I like to walk in a store sometimes and see the book. Do you think they would have a physical copy in Target?
No, not yet. Hopefully that's in the future as the word gets out and more purchases are made.
Yeah, I think every time I go into Target, I'm going to say, do you have Amber's Way, that book? I've been looking for it.
Please, that would be great.
I'm going to do that. Now, we put your web address on the screen, GloriaGallowayAuthor.com. What would our viewers find there?
All about the book, about me, and they can email me. There's a link there, and have a link to the book as well.
Yeah, I like to, when I'm reading a book, I like to learn about the author, and I am one, I'm sure all of our viewers are this way. I'm always looking for my next book. And, if I can learn about the author, that helps me pick a book. If I see him on an interview program, that helps me pick the book. I feel like I know them a little bit.
Yeah.
So what's next, Gloria?
Well, in the book itself, I brought in a television show that Amber and her mother watch, and it's called My Spirited Daughter. And I'm thinking of, I've started it, just very beginning of it, where I actually make a book out of it, where a detective's daughter dies and comes back to haunt him. So that's kind of in the works right now.
That's neat. So you're always thinking of your next step in your next book. And are you a disciplined writer? Do you sit down every morning at 6 o'clock and start typing?
Completely not that way. I don't wait for inspiration. I kind of jot notes down as I go along. If I think of something, I'll jot it down, even if it's just a sentence, a paragraph, or even a whole chapter. And then I put it in a Word document and say what it is, and then I'll go to that and I'll expand on it. And I find that kind of eliminates writer's block, because I can go to these different places and go, I remember that, and it helps.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
Blocks are no longer there.
Those days you hit a wall, that's great. You have these little things tucked away that you can just go and pick out.
Exactly.
I'm amazed that every author I talk to, I'm looking for that formula, and there's no formula. Every single author does it their own way.
Exactly. So what works for some doesn't for others, but that works for me.
Gloria, by the way, what's the weather like up there in Sacramento?
Pretty warm.
100-degree range?
Right now, probably 80s, 90s.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. But it will get hotter there, I would imagine. Anyway, we are out of time, Gloria, but any last thoughts, anything you want to tell our viewers, or anything else about the book?
There's a very big story behind the story, and if you go on to my author site, it'll talk about Pip, the dog, the rescue dog, and the Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation, which percentage of the proceeds are going to that foundation.
And we have a dog on the screen here. A picture of
Yes, that's Pip.
Okay.
Actually, I was tasked with writing another chapter by my publisher, and it ended up being the prologue. And I wanted Amber to be lost in the forest above Placerville. And so she is rescued by a dog. When I spoke to the sheriff in charge of the program, we were emailing back and forth, and he asked if I would be willing to name the dog that found Amber Pip. And of course I said yes. Really quick, interestingly enough, he lived in Placerville all his life, and a deer showed up like a lost puppy at his home.
Wow.
And they raised it till it was old enough to return to the wild. So things like this are in at my website. So
yeah, I like the backstories. I like to hear about that stuff. So thank you so much, Gloria. I'll say this. I always tell the authors, any last thoughts? So I'll say the last thought. Buy the book. Buy this great book. Here's the cover one more time. And here's what I like to do. I don't go and order a copy of a book. I order 5 copies of the book, and I like to give them out and get my friends reading the book at the same time. Or if I have to go to a house party, I like to take a host gift, and I always take a book. So go order a few copies of Amber's Way. And thank you so much, Gloria.
Thank you, Mike.
And I want to invite you to come back again because inspiring and that you tell good stories. I'd like to talk to you again and again. And for our viewers,
that's wonderful to hear.
Stick around, viewers, because we're going to have another author right after this.